This is the Flow Flex Scale Podcast, your field guide to the Solopreneur operating system with author and coach, Jennifer Britton. Daily steps plus consistent action equals momentum. That's Jennifer's mantra, and it starts right here, right now, with you. This is the Flow Flex Scale Podcast. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jennifer Britton. Thanks for joining us for the Flow Flex Scale podcast. In our last episode, I sat down with Valerie, and you heard her story about building momentum in her first year of business. Today, I want to tackle a question that's really at the heart of everything that we're going to be exploring in this podcast. Why does a business of one, why does a solopreneur need an operating system? If you are one, you know that there is so much that grabs our attention every day. I've spent the last 20 years plus working with solopreneurs and micro enterprise of all kinds. Here at our business, Potential Realized, I've worked with coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, professionals. Prior to that, in my former world of work, when I was leading teams throughout the Americas and the Caribbean, worked a lot with micro enterprise, small scale B&Bs, cottage style industry, as we used to call it in those days. And what I know is that for solopreneurs today, for micro enterprise, we don't lack talent. We don't lack vision. However, we often lack a system. There are so many balls that we are juggling, and there is so much to do. My guess is if you're a solopreneur or small business like myself, you're working hard, you're serving clients, you're doing great work, but you're constantly asking, what should I focus on next? What is actually moving the business forward? Why do I feel like I'm busy, but maybe not always productive? And how can I create more momentum? These are pretty strategic business questions, and larger organizations have entire teams and dashboards dedicated to it. The challenge for us as micro enterprise, as solopreneurs, is we may not have access to those resources. Our challenge is often, how do I get everything done at the end of the day? And really, where should I put my attention? And that's where this podcast, the Flow Flex Scale book, and the entire operating system, including the Navigator app, are things that can support you as a solopreneur. Intentionality, discernment is absolutely critical in today's world of work and world of business. So a few years ago, 8 years ago now, actually, the year that Coaching Business Builder came out, I started running something then known as the Coaching Biz Growth Lab, CGBL for short. And I had the opportunity to build on decades of business coaching work that I had done for post-secondary organizations, government-funded programs under our umbrella here at Potentials Realized. What I've noticed over the 8 years of running that program, which eventually became Flow Flex Scale, the 90-day lab, is that everyone comes for a different reason. One person needs more visibility. Another person wants more structure. Another business owner wants to create a new offer. Another one might be focusing on launch. Many times, though, regardless of industry, regardless of type of business, regardless of size of business, a lot of the same issues emerge. Focus, consistency, confidence. At the surface, it might sound like these are really different issues, but after working with hundreds, if not thousands of business owners in the last 20 plus years, there are patterns that have emerged. And the same themes keep showing up time and time again. Whether you're AI enabled or not AI enabled, whether you were a digital business or a mortar and brick business, even with time that's changing and technology's changing, solopreneurism and sustainable solopreneurism, sustainable business growth, still is about sustainable business growth. It is about being strategic. It is about discernment. It's about offering great products and services. I know that business owners of all kinds need stronger foundations. We need to be better at being flexible. For many, 6 years ago, 2020, it was like, we've got to pivot. And then many were surprised we've got to pivot again. And oh, wow, what's this AI thing? We got to pivot again. My guess is that our ability to be agile and to flex is going to continue to morph and grow. That's why it's not just a flow formula. And it's not just the flow flex formula. In fact, it's flow, flex, scale. Because as a business of one, I do believe, at least the entrepreneurs and the professionals I get to work with, impact is not equal size. And we can scale in lots of different ways. So this is a little bit of the backstory to where Flow Flex Scale began, and really why it is an evolving operating system for solopreneurs. Because what I know is that everyone needs something a little bit different. We're all wired differently. And a one pathway process is not going to meet everyone's needs. Business ownership, business success is not a one size fits all. It is our unique path. My hope is that this podcast, along with the Flow Flex Scale book and our related programs, is an opportunity to help you understand who you are, what matters most, and where to focus next. At the heart of all the things you'll hear me talk about here and read and Flow Flex Scale, it is about flow. It's about really zooming into your foundations. It's getting clear on flex and what flex means for you, your ability to adapt. For years, I recruited members to teams in high pressure, high visibility, high impact roles. One of the things I knew which was critical for success in any role, whether I was hiring a GIS specialist, a doctor, an educator, the thing that really is hardest to develop is our ability to adapt. And that's why it is flex. The heart of this model is our ability to adapt. How do we grow that as an entrepreneur? Well, that's really what all of this body of work is about. And finally, it's about your growth. And scaling, as I said earlier, it's not just one pathway. For someone, scale does mean hiring a team at some point. For others, it may mean hiring an agent and enabling AI. For another, growth might mean building a business and selling it. It might be about succession. There are many, many different pathways. And really, the opportunities and challenges that we see today, and I believe we will continue to see, because we've seen over the last 30, 40 years, is that most business opportunities and challenges connect with flow, flex, and scale. So as you're going to hear as we continue to move down this podcast pathway, and if you pick up a copy of the Flow Flex Scale book, there really are 9 catalysts that underpin these 3 dimensions. Under flow, as we're going to see with different guests here at the podcast, it's about DNA, building your unique abilities. It's about looking at your conversations and your relationships, as well as the solid business foundations. A business that has no foundations is going to be weak in an arena of ongoing change and speed. And this is where many times, as you'll hear from our guests, we don't have to do it alone. We may work with agents. We may be doing ongoing learning. Being able to keep ahead of the curve is a challenge. Being able to keep so many balls in the air is a challenge and also an opportunity. And so Flex helps us look at productivity, our relationships, which might include subcontractors or formal team members. It's also about getting things done, getting things into practice, and sometimes speeding up that process. It's also about discernment and being able to say yes and no. Under scale, we are going to be exploring things like your products and programs. What do you offer? Is it a product? Is it a service? How do you make it stand out? And that takes us to visibility and marketing. Standing out in today's ecosystem is absolutely essential. Standing out and being known and being found is a rapidly changing landscape. So we're talking about some of this. And finally, looking at your business acumen. My hope is that this inspires you, and some of the guests that I bring here inspire you to, learn more, collaborate more, reach out for the resources that are going to help you with the blind spots. We want to build intentional, future-ready businesses. And There are a lot of things that are headwinds. AI is changing how we work. Markets are changing. Client expectations are changing. The question is not only how do I do more, but often for those of us that are solopreneurs, how do I focus on what matters most right now? Solopreneurs who thrive aren't necessarily the busiest. They are often the most intentional. So you'll hear that term mentioned a lot here at the podcast. I'm really excited about not only where the book is, where this podcast is going, but how this is being embraced by businesses of all kinds. And when I say businesses, I really should actually say by the business owner, because as solopreneurs, we are our business. As much as we want to distance ourselves in early days and even as we grow through the decades, our capability, our capacity often influences how much we grow and again, how much impact we have. Growth does not always equal impact. My goal here as a podcast co-host is to give you opportunities to peel back the layers of who you are, who your business is, to help you understand more about who you are, help you identify what matters most, and also support you in gaining clarity on your next step. In today's business context, we aren't in the old days of being able to look 6 years down the road. Even 6 months is a stretch. And so my commitment here is what is one thing you can be doing and putting into practice this week. I also want to plant the seed for you to think about, when are you working on your business? I think one of the reasons why my business is still around is because I have been offering coaching services to so many businesses of all kinds. Left to our own devices, we will rarely earmark the time needed for our work. In fact, over the last 6 years, the virtual co-working sprints that I've been hosting this year under the 26 for 26 banner are one of the most fun projects that I have enjoyed hosting. It was back in 2021, those virtual co-working sprints that brought a book here, many of you might know, Reconnecting Workspaces, over the finish line. It's what's enabled me to really update and create FlowFlex Scale as something that is 2026 worthy. Again, it's not just a book, it's a podcast, it's a movement, it's a support, it's a hub for people like you as solopreneurs. Working this summer, I hope to be saying very soon that the app will be ready. In fact, many of you are aware that the heat map is now ready. So I'm going to leave you with a bit of a momentum move, because in business, it is about keep on moving. And I want to just share with you 3 words: reflect, assess, and act. RAA, reflect, assess, and act. I want you to think today about what's working in your business right now. What is working well? What energy does that give you? Now, second question, assess. What area needs the most attention? And we'll ask you this simply: flow, flex, or scale? And as a coach, I want to take you to the final A, which is act. Which area needs most attention? And what action, one action, can you take this week? Not 10, but one. One conversation, one improvement, one deep work block, one decision, one outreach. Because as I've been saying now since 2018, daily steps and consistent action create momentum. I have seen that now in hundreds, if not thousands, of professionals that I've had the privilege to work with. And I know that I've had the privilege to work with thousands. In our next episode, we're going to continue to go deeper into the different catalysts and activators of FlowFlex Scale. I hope that you're going to enjoy this journey, be inspired by this journey, and as always, think about, how can you put this into practice? One thing, one step, one action. Be well, everyone, and thanks for joining us today.